Yo man, talk about a great victory this day. Next week, difficulty selections for Sifu are releasing. I'll definitely be buying that game. The Sifu devs listened, and they came through. Credit where it's due. But this should also serve as a lesson. Just have the hardcore difficulty mode as a separate mode. Don't have it be the default at day one and result in tons of deserved backlash. Anyway, the FromSoft elitists though, they are pissed. Just, wow, these people are pathetic at this point. Sifu isn't even a FromSoft game. But this is what happens when FromSoft gets away with that fake challenge for over 10 years. Now, I'll admit, I couldn't find a whole lot of pissed off tweets for this video like I did before. But the difficulty selection news just dropped today, April 26th. So by the time I post this video, there'd be more pissed off tweets. I am honestly in disbelief. You see this gatekeeping nonsense that the FromSoft community keeps doing. You people have nothing else going on in your lives, to the point that you think beating a FromSoft game is an accomplishment, or beating any kind of game that does that bullshit is an accomplishment. And if a dev team actually listens to the deserved backlash, you people lose your shit. What decade do you people think this is? This is not the 80s. This is not the 90s. This is not the early 2000s where such design was once common for a perfectly justified reason. This is the year 2022. We are in 9th gen now. We are long past the days of games having to cheat to compensate for lacking hardware. Have to cheat to keep players engaged. Cheat to result in long game lengths, but only due to cheap deaths and other nonsense that makes the player go over sections over and over. Yet the FromSoft community keeps defending such lazy and outdated game design and holds so much pathetic pride over nothing. Difficulty selection will not affect your bullshit 80s mode. You people will be able to keep that mode, which is called Master, all to yourselves. The rest of us will have actual fun. I have no idea why that's such a problem to you people. I don't have much else to say about this situation, except all you FromSoft elitists can go to hell. While we're on this difficulty selection discussion again, I got a lot to say about this AC Valhalla footage. First off, that Mickey Rourke, the Hound looking motherfucker, just, wow. I mean, I know Vikings are all about combat, but jeez. When you saw that moment early on when I tackled that motherfucker off the edge, that was completely unexpected. That was something out of a cutscene. I thought I could just Viking tackle him off the cliff. But no, the fight kept going. That fight was a blast. On to Fenrir here. First of all, this is certainly an example of how easy mode isn't a cakewalk. Also, Norse mythology is just getting a lot of games these days, aren't they? Just love all these different interpretations on the myth. You got God of War doing its own thing. You got Ubisoft doing its own thing here. Then there's Hellblade, and Marvel is in honorable mention. And it's interesting how Ubisoft and Santa Monica Studios are accurate with Thor. Like, yeah, people freaked out about the fat Thor thing, but in myth, he actually looked like that. Everyone is just used to Marvel's version. Back to this fight. Now, first of all, Ubisoft clearly took some notes on FromSoft when it comes to the gameplay. They really didn't have to do that, especially when it comes to the stamina system. As you'll see in this fight, it's annoying to put up with that. But at least these boss fights don't cheat. In fact, before this fight, I had to fight Loki. And props to Ubisoft for giving Loki a cool moveset. He was freaking teleporting all over the place, which is something Loki would do to compensate for his lack of strength. And that fight was fun. Honestly, the only reason this fight took a while is because of how this game handles level ups. You You don't exactly grind like usual. It's all about the skill points and stronger gear. The point of this one, though, is later on in this fight, Fenrir just becomes Sif from Dark Souls 1. Also, Dark Souls 2, technically, because they reused Sif's model for the Royal Rat Authority boss. And then there's the Red Wolf boss in Elden Ring, which is literally just Sif again. I honestly can't call that fight a ripoff, though, because Sif is also from Norse myth. And then you have Fenrir being a big factor in Ragnarok. In fact, I'm guessing that's why Sif in Dark Souls 1 was a wolf. I haven't seen Sif in this game, though. Weird, because considering her history with Loki in myth, Sif in this game would have been happy to kick Loki's ass. Speaking of God of War, let me cut away to Ubisoft's take on Mimir. Just, Jesus, he has it worse here than he did in God of War, and he looks just creepy in this version. Just look at him, he has a big-ass head, and what I'm guessing are the roots of the World Tree. And Odin didn't do this. Or, I think he didn't. In the Asgard sections of this game, Mimir wasn't brought up until this point. So, there's not much else to add here. Except when it comes to the game slider options this game has, it was definitely tempting to just set the health to infinite, or set the damage scaling to be lower, or to just boost the damage ideal. But I didn't do it. But again, if people are the players that have done it, why should I care? It doesn't affect my playthrough. Just like the easy and normal difficulties in Sifu won't affect the masochists. You minority of people can enjoy being the friggin' 1% of the entire Sifu player base that plays the game on Master and go through just hours of cheapness. One of those tweets I mentioned before mentioned how those easier difficulties will lower the length. But I'll take a fair game that is just 8 to 10 hours long over a cheating game that stretches that length out to 16 or 20 hours. In fact, if you complain about the lower game length, that is 100% the dev's fault for going the lazy fake challenge route in the first place. But yeah, I'm still in a good mood because the Sifu devs actually listened and came through. Now, I certainly don't have any hope for this, but maybe the difficulty selection in Sifu would at least make Namco Bandai look at FromSoft's games and think, oh, we should have this. Oh, wait, I know one more thing to talk about. The game, just wow, Elden Ring over on Steam charts, in the last 30 days, it has lost slightly over 50% of its total player base on PC. That is half of the millions that bought the game. In fact, PC is where the majority of those total sales are. Let's see, it's 12 mil in total, so at best, PC must have 10 mil of that. And yet the game lost half of that player base in the last 30 days. Potential game of the year, my ass. What game of the year loses so many players in a short amount of time? And you people know why so many players left. Because those 10 out of 10s were dishonest. A little over 5 million people were misled by those 10 out of 10s, thinking this is the first FromSoft game that everyone is playing. But no, it's the same fake challenge nonsense. And again, we're talking about the PC side here. They at least got mods. But if mods aren't enough to keep millions of players around, then oh man, you know a game done fucked up. So if the PC version lost so many players, then at best, both PlayStation and Xbox must have lost 500k players. I forgot to mention how that percentage keeps going up. Last I checked, the percentage was at 47%. But now it's up to 54. It really makes me wonder, are Namco Bandai looking at those Steam charts, seeing how many players quit and most likely return their games. I'm sure they'd want the game to be a moneymaker for them, but the fake challenge won't get them there. I usually hate those corporate mandates, but if something like that happens with Elden Ring, so be it. You guys know that these bigger companies won't settle for millions of players leaving. Now, if FromSoft were independent, they wouldn't have to worry about such things. But I wonder why they're not. Because they know that their games wouldn't be big money makers for them to help sustain them. They know they never make Witcher money. I know Project Red isn't exactly in a good spot, but after Witcher 1, which was actually published by Atari, at least the retail version was, CD Projekt Red went on their own after that because the first game did so well. That will never happen with FromSoft. Not unless they freaking change. So, enjoy the rest of the fight.
Then comes the second great sword, when the Harvey goes to fight the wolf.
How do you know these things?
This is the tale I tell myself, each night in the cold and dark, before I sleep and dream of tasting your flesh.